The Silent Harvest. Nova Haven was humanity's crown jewel, a thriving colony of 15 million souls situated on the lush planet Kepler 886 bits at the edge of explored space. The settlement represented decades of innovation, perseverance, and hope. For 30 years, the colonists had transformed the alien landscape into a vibrant outpost of human civilization, complete with towering arcologies, vast agricultural domes, and cutting-edge research facilities. Then, in a single day, it went silent. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the bridge of the UN Vigilant, staring at the main view screen with mounting dread. What should have been a routine supply mission had turned into a nightmare. Where Nova Haven's sprawling metropolis once stood, there was nothing but scorched earth and strange crystalline formations jutting from the ground like alien tombstones. "Scan again," she ordered, her voice tight. "There has to be something." Lieutenant Patel shook his head, his dark eyes reflecting the horror they all felt. "Commander, we've run 3 complete planetary scans. No human life signs. No active technology. Nothing." Reyes gripped the command rail until her knuckles turned white. 15 million people. Gone. Not killed in a conventional attack. There would have been ruins, bodies, radiation. This was something else entirely. The colony had been harvested. "What about the black box recorder from the orbital station?" she asked. Communications Officer Garcia looked up from her console. "Partially recovered, Commander. The data is fragmented, but," she hesitated, "you should see this." The view screen flickered, showing chaotic footage from Nova Haven's defense station. Something massive had eclipsed the stars, a vessel of impossible proportions, its surface rippling like liquid obsidian. The recording showed strange tendrils extending from the ship, piercing the planet's atmosphere. Then came the screams, cut short as the recording ended. "We found this embedded in the station's memory core," Garcia continued, bringing up a symbol, a spiraling vortex surrounded by angular glyphs. "Translation?" Reyes asked. "Linguistic AI identifies it as a mark of ownership or consumption," Garcia replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sir, we've seen this before. 3 unmapped systems at the edge of the Orion Arm reported similar symbols before going dark last year. Intelligence dismissed it as pirate activity." Reyes felt ice in her veins. This was no random attack. This was methodical. Calculated. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. Priority Alpha transmission to Fleet Command. Her expression hardened. "Tell them we've made first contact." Within 72 hours of the Vigilance report, humanity's response began. For the first time in its fractious history, Earth and all its colonies united under a single banner. Political differences evaporated in the face of existential threat. The images from Nova Haven circulated throughout human space. 15 million lives erased, not in war, but in harvest. Admiral Wei Chen stood before the United Earth Congress, her weathered face grim with purpose. "We have identified the aggressors," she announced, projecting images of the obsidian vessels. "They call themselves the Voidkin, an ancient species that travels between galaxies, consuming civilizations. Based on recovered data and archaeological findings, they'd been doing this for at least 50,000 years." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. "They believe we are cattle," Admiral Chen continued. "Resources to be harvested. Their technology is advanced, but not incomprehensible. Their advantage has always been in numbers and the element of surprise." Her eyes hardened. "We will deny them both." What followed was the most massive military buildup in human history. Shipyards that had once competed now worked in tandem, producing vessels at unprecedented rates. Weapons research that had been theoretical was fast-tracked into deployment. Millions volunteered for military service within the first week. 6 months after Nova Haven fell, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned dreadnought UN Retribution. Around her stretched humanity's answer to the Voidkin threat, a fleet of 700,000 warships, from nimble corvettes to city-sized dreadnoughts. It was a force assembled with singular purpose, not merely to defend, but to ensure that the Voidkin would never threaten humanity again. Elena Reyes, now a captain, commanded the scout vessel UN Harbinger at the vanguard of the fleet. Her ship had been equipped with advanced stealth technology and sensor arrays specifically designed to track Voidkin energy signatures. The data from Nova Haven had been analyzed exhaustively, revealing the quantum wake patterns the alien vessels left in subspace. Signal from command, her communications officer reported. The fleet is assembled. Operation Nemesis is a go. Reyes nodded, feeling the weight of what they were about to do. This wasn't just a military operation, it was a statement to the galaxy. Attack humanity, and the response would be absolute. Set course for the coordinates, she ordered. Let's find these bastards. The Harbinger slipped into quantum space, followed by the vanguard fleet. Behind them came the main battle groups. Thousands of ships moving in perfect formation, carrying the collective fury of humanity. Intelligence suggested the Voidkin operated from a central hub, a massive space station that served as both homeworld and processing center for their harvests. Finding it had taken months of careful tracking, following the quantum wake patterns across dozens of systems. What the Harbinger discovered exceeded even their worst expectations. The Voidkin hub hung in the void between star systems, a grotesque structure the size of a small moon, composed of thousands of merged vessels. Around it swarmed hundreds of the obsidian harvesters, preparing for their next feeding. They have no defenses, Reyes observed, studying the sensor readings. No patrol ships, no early warning systems. Her tactical officer, Commander Jackson, frowned. Why would they? They've never needed them. They're the apex predators. Reyes felt a grim smile form on her lips. We're the apex predators, she corrected, opening a channel to Admiral Chen. Harbinger to retribution. We found them. Sending coordinates now. Within hours, the full might of humanity's fleet arrived minus 700,000 warships emerging from quantum space in a carefully orchestrated sequence designed to surround the Voidkin hub from all vectors. For the first time in their long history of consumption, the Voidkin found themselves facing a prey species that had decided to hunt the hunter. Vengeance imperative. The human fleet materialized from quantum space like a storm front, thousands of ships appearing simultaneously, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. For precious seconds, the Voidkin made no response, their harvesters continuing their normal operations around the central hub. They had never encountered this situation before, never faced a counterattack from a species they had marked for consumption. Admiral Wei Chen stood at the command center of the UN Retribution, watching the tactical display with steel in her eyes. All ships maintained position, weapons hot but hold fire. She wanted them to see, wanted them to understand what they had awakened. We're detecting movement, reported her tactical officer. The harvesters are organizing into defensive formations. Chen nodded, unsurprised. Broadcast on all frequencies, all languages recovered from the Nova Haven data. The communications officer complied, and Chen spoke, her voice carrying to every ship in the human fleet and toward the alien armada. I am Admiral Wei Chen of the United Earth Navy. 6 months ago, you attacked our colony of Nova Haven and harvested 15 million human lives. We are here to ensure you never threaten humanity again. You have one opportunity to surrender. The response came 3 minutes later, not in words but in action. The Voidkin harvesters surged forward, their obsidian hulls rippling as they prepared their consumption apparatus. They're attacking, Admiral, the tactical officer reported unnecessarily. Chen's expression didn't change. So be it. All ships, execute Operation Nemesis. The human fleet responded with mechanical precision. First came the electronic warfare vessels, unleashing a barrage of signals designed to disrupt the quantum field communication the Voidkin used to coordinate. Then the dedicated EMP platforms fired, sending waves of energy that washed over the advancing harvesters. The effect was immediate. Dozens of the obsidian ships faltered, their liquid-like hulls solidifying as emergency systems engage. Intelligence had predicted this vulnerability. The Voidkin relied on quantum field manipulation for both communication and hull integrity. Disrupt one, and the other became vulnerable. First strike successful, reported the tactical officer. Harvesters are experiencing an estimated 60% reduction in coordination capabilities. Chen nodded. Comments Phase 2. The main battle groups advanced, led by specialized hunter-killer squadrons. The Voidkin technology was advanced, but it had evolved for harvesting, not warfare. Their vessels were built to surround planets and extract resources, not to engage in ship-to-ship combat. Captain Alina Reyes led Vanguard Squadron directly toward a cluster of disoriented harvesters. Target their ventral processing nodes, she ordered. That's where they store the harvested materials. Her squadron opened fire, rail guns accelerating depleted uranium rounds to relativistic speeds. The projectiles punched through the now rigid hulls of the harvesters, shattering the crystalline structures within. Each impact released a cloud of glittering particles, the remnants of consumed civilizations, reduced to raw materials. The Voidkin responded with surprising speed, adapting their harvesting technology for combat. Tendrils designed to extract planetary resources lashed out at human vessels, attempting to pierce their hulls and drain their energy. Evasive maneuvers, Rise ordered as a tendril narrowly missed the Harbinger. Maintain distance and continue targeting processing nodes. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as humanity brought its full military might to bear. Ships that had been designed and built specifically to counter the Voidkin's capabilities performed with deadly efficiency. Where the aliens adapted, humans had already predicted and prepared countermeasures. 4 hours into the battle, the tide had decisively turned. Over half the Harvester fleet lay shattered, their remains drifting in expanding clouds of crystalline debris. The human fleet had suffered losses, nearly 30,000 ships destroyed or disabled. But the overwhelming numerical advantage remained. The remaining harvesters are retreating toward the hub, reported Chen's tactical officer. They appear to be merging with the structure. Chen studied the sensor readings, noting how the hub was changing configuration, its surface rippling as it absorbed the returning harvesters. They're consolidating their forces. Prepare for the second wave. What emerged from the hub was unlike anything they had anticipated. Rather than more harvesters, a single massive entity detached itself, a leviathan that dwarfed even the largest human dreadnoughts. Its surface shimmered with energy patterns that defied conventional scanning. "What is that?" Chen demanded. Her science officer looked up from his station, face pale. "Based on energy readings, I believe it's their leader, or perhaps their origin template, the entity from which all harvesters are derived." The Leviathan emitted a pulse of energy that washed over the human fleet. Every communication system simultaneously activated, and a voice spoke, not in words but directly into the minds of every human present. "We have consumed 10,000 civilizations across 12 galaxies. You are not special. You are food." Chen felt the alien presence trying to infiltrate her thoughts, but humanity had prepared for this too. Neural dampeners installed in every ship's life support system activated, shielding the crews from the worst of the psychic assault. "You made a fatal error," Chen responded, knowing the entity could perceive her thoughts. "You revealed yourselves by attacking Nova Haven. Had you remained hidden, harvesting uninhabited worlds and forgotten outposts, we might never have mounted this response." Images flooded her mind, planets being consumed, civilizations falling, all feeding the endless hunger of the Voidkin. It wasn't just sustenance for them, it was purpose. "You've never faced real resistance because you've always chosen vulnerable targets," Chen continued, unfazed by the mental onslaught. "Isolated colonies, pre-spaceflight civilizations, but humanity is neither isolated nor defenseless." She gave the order without speaking, the neural link to her command staff transmitting her intentions instantly. Around the fleet, specialized vessels moved into position, deploying the ultimate weapon humanity had developed, quantum field disruptors designed to target the very fabric of Voidkin biology. The Leviathan sensed the threat too late. It lashed out with tendrils of pure energy, destroying dozens of human ships in seconds. But the disruptors had already activated, creating an expanding field that caused the quantum particles making up the Voidkin entity to lose coherence. The effect was catastrophic. The Leviathan's surface began to break apart, its consciousness fracturing as its physical form disintegrated. A final psychic scream tore through the neural dampeners, causing pain to every human in the fleet, but the outcome was inevitable. When it was over, the hub itself began to collapse, the controlling intelligence that had maintained its structure no longer present. Chen ordered the fleet to maintain a safe distance as the massive structure imploded, collapsing into a singularity that quickly evaporated in a burst of Hawking radiation. In the silence that followed, Captain Rice brought the Harbinger alongside the retribution. "Is it over?" she asked Chen via direct communication. The Admiral studied the sensor readings showing the last traces of the Voidkin presence fading from existence. "This branch of them, yes. But a species that spans galaxies doesn't fall in a single battle." She turned to her communications officer. "Prepare a quantum beacon message, maximum range, all frequencies." When the system was ready, Chen spoke, her words carried across the stars. "This is Admiral Y. Chen of humanity. The species known as the Voidkin attempted to harvest our people. In response, we assembled 700,000 warships and erased their presence from this sector of space. Should any other branch of their kind approach human territory, the response will be the same. We are not food. We are not prey. We are humanity." The message would take years to reach the furthest stars, but Chen knew it would eventually find its way to any remaining Voidkin, and perhaps to other predatory species that might consider humanity an easy target. As the fleet regrouped and prepared to return to Earth, Captain Rice stood on the observation deck of the Harbinger, watching the remains of the Voidkin hub disperse into the void. "Do you think they'll come back?" asked her first officer. Rice considered the question, remembering the images of Nova Haven. 15 million lives erased in a harvest that, to the Voidkin, had been nothing more than gathering resources. "If they do," she replied, "they'll find us waiting. And next time, we won't stop at defense." The message was clear. The galaxy now contained a new apex predator. Humanity would not be consumed, and those who tried would pay the ultimate price.